Janusz, because they played twice today. The first game was the kind of reserves, albeit a sprinkling of first-team fringe players at their training complex. And then the second game was at Anfield in front of a packed house. Liverpool winning that game by 2-0. You've been a busy boy today watching the Real Madrid-Schalke game earlier. Then you watched this one. How impressed were you by Liverpool? I suppose more in the first half, because the second half wasn't really too much to write home about.
Yeah, obviously some positives, right? I mean, again, it's friendlies. The first 45 minutes, two Jeremys, right? Jeremy Jacquet came in and showed the pace, and so important because they're still very thin in that position, right? You have Van Dijk. They've always needed a player like Jeremy Jacquet. I suppose it's different this time because under Iraola they're not going to play as high line as they did against with Arne Slot. So that's a first positive. But he's got the recovery pace that maybe Van Dijk is missing a little bit. Araujo, let's just wait and see. You and I know him very well. I think he came in, he did okay, but there's a learning curve for both Jacquet and Araujo to the Premier League, right? So let's now look at a game like that. And then Frimpong certainly has won himself starting spot under right back almost by default, really, because there's nobody that's healthy there and there's no other quality. But he was absolutely outstanding. He was everywhere today. He was the sort of Frimpong that we remember under Xabi Alonso at Bayer Leverkusen, right? That we really haven't gotten to see last season all that much. So a lot of positive. Midfield was okay. And, Cody Gakpo, I mean, with all the rumors, with him leaving, look, many said, well, this game convinced everybody that he shouldn't be because he had such a great game, goal and assist. But it's not even that. I mean, they can't afford to let him go because, he's the only one that could play, number 9 if Isak, knock on wood, gets injured, right? Because Ekitike is going to be, out still for a long time. And then you look and who are you going to play there? You need that experienced player. So obviously he can play on the left. If need be, he can play in the center. I don't see how they can let him go unless they've got something under their sleeve in terms of another number 9, which I don't think they do.
Just getting some breaking news in that Barcelona have agreed a deal, according to our ESPN FC colleagues, to sign Rodri. So we were speaking about Real Madrid and how, it does. And we were talking about how they wanted him initially and how different it might have been if he'd gone there, but now Barcelona. So I tell you what, if you now choose Barcelona to win the title, then you can go back at the end of the season and we'll show you this and you can say, well, I told you so. We'll just decide which bit of the thing to edit. But I know we're talking about Liverpool. Just a quick reaction to Barcelona confirming the signature of Rodri.
Well, I think we all knew it. Obviously, it's like the Spanish national team to a degree. So many players don't know each other. Still, maybe some questions. The number 9 situation. Ferran Torres goes. And Rafinha can play there. Is that the answer? I don't know. Look, all I'm saying is, even with Rodri, I said, that I like Real Madrid on paper in terms of the true depth of the squad. And I don't think that changes things here for me. In terms of depth, they really have changed that team quite a bit. So that stays. Rodri absolutely changes things. All I'm saying is this is going to be, it should be an incredibly, incredibly tight race. I mean, Real Madrid are not the same Real Madrid we saw last season, for sure.
$87 million it works out at, and Barcelona get their man. Back to Liverpool. I wanted to ask you about Florian Wirtz. Your thoughts on his performance today and in his sophomore season at Liverpool. Will year one just be a blip and he'll get back to the form that he showed in the Bundesliga? Any signs that you've started to see that yet?
A couple of goals, right? I mean, we've seen in preseason. I don't want to say he's been bad. Leeds, I think, in Monaco, if I remember correctly. That I've defended him all season. My type of player, I thought he was going to go. We saw flashes here and there, not everywhere. But again, today, the frustration that I have with him is that he takes 3, 4, 5, 6 touches, and then when he runs into trouble, physically, he's still not ready for it. He's got to understand that in the Premier League, when everything is in transition, it's so physical, it's so fast, his decision-making has got to be much, much quicker. He is the creative force. I mean, if he doesn't have, an incredible season, Liverpool don't have a chance. If you look at the Liverpool as they stand right now, there's not enough quality and depth for them to deal with the Premier League and the Champions League. There just isn't. I mean, if you look at Wirtz, he's going to sort of have, and I'm not comparing them player for player, but he almost has to be sort of Bruno Fernandes of United, right? If it's not the goals, what Bruno had, 20, 21 assists, right? It was a record.
24 assists last season.
24, was it 24? I'm sorry. He's got to be 15 and up. He has to be that, because Szoboszlai, he's box to box. He can be, but he's not the final creator that you expect for a team that has a strong midfield, a physical midfield, right? If you look at Gravenberch, if you look at McAllister, even if you look at Szoboszlai, that's a strong physical presence. And then you need Wirtz to do that, to release players quickly in the wide areas, to find Isak very early. But he continues to spend way too much time on the ball. So unless he fixes that very, very quickly, Liverpool were not great last season, right? And unless they continue, we don't know who they're going to sign. Barcola, maybe more. I don't know if they're looking that much better, to be quite honest with you.
Which version of Alexander Isak do you think we'll get this season?
I have more faith in him. I thought, watching him in the World Cup, right, after missing, so much of the season, I thought he was okay. He was fine. His runs made sense. And right now, watching him in preseason, I think we're going to see a good Isak, who's, obviously pressures on him to score goals, pressures on everybody to score goals. That's why I spend so much time on Wirtz, because if Wirtz continues to find him and the white players continue to find him, and look, Kerkesh, I think Iraola of all should know what makes him tick, right? Maybe Slot didn't, but he came from Bournemouth. He understands that. Frimpong, I like what I saw, right? But Wirtz needs to find Isak very, very quickly, because he likes to be found behind the defenses. Look, Liverpool scored so few goals for Liverpool Football Club, right? They probably need another 20, 25 from what they scored last season at the very least. So Isak, I'm okay with, but it's the people behind it that need to find him and find him quickly.
I remember the last time Liverpool went to Newcastle, and it was that real late drama. I think it was Engamoa that scored nearly 10 minutes into added time. Liverpool winning by 3-2. That's where they begin their new season in the Premier League against a much changed Newcastle side that haven't kept a clean sheet in pre-season since they beat Darlington in their first pre-season game in July. So probably a good start, but it's still a tough start. Newcastle away, Nottingham Forest at home is a tough start for Liverpool. What should be the expectations for
you can't lose, right? You almost don't like these type of games, because you look across and you see Newcastle. Liverpool lost a lot of players too, but right? For Newcastle, the manager that they've really loved, let's be honest, Tonali and Gordon and, Guimaraes, they've lost a ton. So it almost feels like, well, Liverpool's got to win this. But as I just explained, Liverpool obviously lost some key players like Konate and Mo Salah. Both sides have a new manager. So I think you worry about that. On paper, you think, yeah, got to go to Newcastle and win 3 points. But we all know St. James's, right? Sometimes that alone gives you a goal. And I don't think it's a place where you take anything for granted. So not losing there is a success. Point or 3, obviously 3 would be great. Yeah. But even a point out of there, I think the way Liverpool are right now, you take that. Of course, fans will tell you they'd be disappointed, but it's a tough place.
It is, but you want to get off to a good start. New coach, a couple of new players. Question for you. If Liverpool find who they want, whether it's Barcola or whoever, and sign him this week prior to the Newcastle game to play wide on the right-hand side, if it's a big money transfer, do you put that player straight in, or do you say to Rio Engamoa, I know you probably preferred down the left-hand side. You and I have commentated on him pre-season against Wrexham when he came on the right-hand side. Do you start Engamoa on the right at Newcastle, or do you throw whoever straight in?
That's a bit of a conundrum, isn't it, right? Because, look, Engamoa has to play on the left. So is Barcola. Let's be honest. He can play on the right, but his position is on the left side. That's where Barcola is at his best, not on the right, So, he may learn to play there, but we've seen him on numerous occasions, and that's not the side that he plays for PSG at his best. and he's on the left. So look, Nguemoa today at the very least, I mean, non-existent, right? He is so much better, so much braver when he plays on the left-hand side, coming on the right, taking players one-on-one, looking for that shot to the far post. Obviously, Cody Gakpo had a big game. That's his position as well, unless he plays center forward, which he will not, because Isak will play there. So there are some conundrums with all of that, right? Barcola can probably play on the right, and I would put him there over in Nguemoa, no questions asked. But is that his best position? Is that where you're going to pay 75 million, whatever it may be, to play Barcola not on his preferred side? I don't know.
Finally, 21 of Liverpool's 38 games last season in the Premier League, they didn't win, and that left them 25 points behind the leaders, defending their crown, and it wasn't a good defense of their crown. Mitigating circumstances, of course. What would be a good season for Liverpool this year to get within how many points of the winners, assuming that they're not going to win the title?
Look, again, as it stands right now, you're still fighting for the top four. I mean, it's no different. After losing those players, whoever you're going to get, it's a new manager, a lot of new players, and not incredibly big depth in squad. I mean, you're talking about, Champions League and Premier League. So, I mean, the depth of that squad is not much better. Eventually it may be, right, when you recover some of the key players. But for a lot of the key players, it's going to be a while still. I don't see like these incredible players coming off the bench, So I still, it's just a fight for the top four because, look at Spurs. I mean, in terms of depth, they've gotten better. Chelsea a little bit as well. United, they got to confirm what they did in the second part of the season last year. But I just think it's it's not about how many points. I mean, I think if you're a Liverpool fan, I mean, if you finish third and it's 5 points, you're still probably not super okay with that. But I see this pretty much same as last season and hoping for a little bit more, that they're still going to sign players. Then you're going to recover key players. And as we all know, Liverpool hasn't been afraid to pull the trigger in January. They've signed some big time players in that time. So perhaps if you ask me the same question, in January, I can say, yeah, now this is a team that can push on like United did. But remember, last season was exceptionally poor by so many big clubs that, I don't know how to judge that.